Cybermaterial presents Ask Me Anything Cyber, a fun, interactive weekly event for everything cybersecurity. Join us every week at noon Eastern Time for a high-energy, no-fluff recap of the week's biggest cyber stories. From data breaches and threat intel to major legal updates. Whether it's a high-profile hack, a new APT on the rise, or a must-attend summit, we've got it covered. But that's not all. We'll also break down the latest job market trends, share our thoughts on cyber stocks, and give you actionable insights to stay ahead. And of course, we wrap things up with what makes this show special, live Q&A with you. Have a question about a breach? Want to know how a threat works? Curious about getting started in cyber? Let us know and we'll answer it live. Without further ado, let's get this.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Ask Me Anything Cyber. I'm your host Prapti Pal and I'm glad to have you here with us today. As always, I'm joined with my co-host Sophie, CTO of 911 Cyber. Hi. Oh, and we have Scott here as well. Hi Scott, how are
Hello.
you doing today?
Good.
Scott is the CEO of Berkeley and hi Sophie, how are you? I
Hi,
think
how
you're
are
muted.
you? Thank you for having me.
Yes. So today we'll be talking about AirTag detection, cyber stalking risk, wireless tracking misuse, and some real cases that people are facing on a day-to-day life. So let's jump right in. So Scott, can you share a little bit about what initially drew you into cybersecurity and what a day looks like for you as a CEO of the Berkeley Varitronic Systems?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thanks for
Yeah.
having me on. Much appreciated. Look forward to a great discussion. Number of years ago, geez, it's almost 15 years ago, I found myself presenting at different conferences, a lot of things talking about security and cybersecurity and educating people. And I found the more I educated people, the more I kind of got a target on my back. And that's really what drew me in even more to cybersecurity because I was getting annoyed. It started with the usual. I had a credit card compromised and a debit card, my Twitter account hacked, and repeated DDoS attacks to our online store. Then I had $65,000 stolen out of our checking
Wow.
account, and I said, "Oh, this is not good. What is going on?" And this continued on. It still continues on to this day, unfortunately. Focused, targeted attacks, and some of them I trace back with the help of some colleagues in an Israeli cybersecurity company. That these are notorious hackers that basically have it out for me. They don't want me to educate people. They don't want me to provide tools and solutions to keep people safe. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, I think. The good news out of it, I think it kind of reinforced me to say, hey, I'm going to really fight these guys, these cyber criminals, and now I'm going to turn it up. And as a result, I authored a book and then a couple more books on the subject of Hacked Again and cybersecurity is everybody's business and senior cyber. Now I'm
Yeah.
working on my fourth book, Stolen Plastic, and how the stories of battling cyber criminals and things. So my day in life here is certainly challenging, and each day is different, which I kind of like. It's exciting coming to work because I don't know what's in store. I'm dealing with listening to customers frustrated with their own breaches and cyber attacks and educating them how to stay safe and trying to keep up with the evolving market. And just like you guys do, educating people is a tremendous part of the business, sharing
Yeah.
knowledge, techniques, tools, know-how to help people stay safe to me is really fundamental to what we
Yeah,
do. And I know it's near and dear to your heart. So I thank you guys for all the stuff you
yeah.
do because I read all of your articles and follow the show and follow you guys on LinkedIn, and it is very helpful. And I encourage people to continue to do that and subscribe. And it really makes a difference because it's cutting edge things, the techniques that cyber criminals are using. All of us need to stay on top of it to protect ourselves, whether we're consumer or even our
Yeah.
businesses. So thank you guys for what you do.
Yeah, and I always say that education is the first line of defense because if you know what is going on out there, you are gonna expect on what to do and how to react. So thank you, Scott, for what you do and how you protect, especially seniors. I know,
Yes.
like it's very dear to your heart too.
Yeah. Definitely, and I think it was it's neat because it's a learning curve too. At the time when I wrote Senior Cyber, I was so frustrated with trying to help my grandfather at the time was about 99 years old, and then also my parents dealing with computer problems and passwords and just everything. It was a constant battle,
Yeah.
and the more I searched, I couldn't find any solid sources that could give you advice that wasn't a little bit insulting or a little bit too simplified. So I said, let me find that balance there and speak to that senior audience. So part of the fun was interviewing seniors and talking to them and ask them what they like to do and don't like to do, what works, what doesn't work. And then you quickly learn how to gear it really toward that audience. And I think that that's really the most important thing. Speaking to your audience when you're at least
Yeah.
writing a book or a
Yeah,
show, it does wonders because then they really absorb it and they
yeah.
appreciate it.
And everybody should get a copy. And we do have a cyber review. I do have a cyber review with Scott about senior cyber. So anybody that wants to get the video link, please reach out to us. We'll send it over. Or you can find it on our
Yeah.
YouTube channel or website and get a copy for your senior member in your family for these holidays. It's going to be very useful for them because it's very easy to read and very like the explanation of every hack and scam is very well detailed for seniors to understand. So it's a great book.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think Prapti, we can also like introduce the next question and like right the on how he came up with
Yeah,
new
yeah, there's,
ideas and
yeah. I mean, he actually did mention a bit about the challenges, and every day is a new thing in cybersecurity. So, would you like to tell us about what kind of challenges or gaps in security caught your attention and, led you to exploring, new solutions?
Absolutely. And I think that's, as again, as I was kind of mentioning, my job is kind of exciting because I'm trying to steer a ship. And we've got 25 plus engineers that are brilliant, far smarter than me, that are designing and implementing algorithms and building and designing these tools that are wireless and cybersecurity. So as I'm constantly absorbing information and learning, I try to identify where are their weaknesses, where are their vulnerabilities, and looking at that demographic, how can we provide a solution that can be relatively simple to the user base and help them solve a problem without breaking the bank?
Mm.
And one of the areas that I thought was kind of interesting was the AirTags. And a number of years ago, I was reading a story, caught my eye, the headlines about Brooks Nader, who's many people know, a famous, I guess, swimsuit model and so on and so forth, and well known in the world of social media.
Mm.
She was bar hopping and this and that, and I guess realized she got a notice late in the night that somebody was possibly following her, and she went to several different bars throughout the city, and it was certainly concerning her, and she realized,
Yeah.
oh no, later on there was an AirTag and there was a psycho following me. There's got to be a way to solve that. That's what instantly came to my mind. And certainly Apple thought about having some means of alerting, which I think is good. They kind of give you an early detection, but that early detection may come hours or even days later that there was a tag possibly traveling with you if it's not yours. Not very useful.
Yeah.
In fact, in some cases, it's actually more alarming. So in this case, I think Brooks Nader was paranoid, and she went to the social media channel and all her followers and told the world, "Hey, this is not safe. Women, be careful, because you could be stalked. You can be tracked." And I guess for myself, it was an education because I didn't know much about it. So I started doing research and saying, I wonder how many people are actually stalked and tracked a year. And it's
Yeah.
interesting, statistically, 13.5 million plus people are stalked that are reporting it each year in the United States alone. And in over 80% of all these reports, there's technology involved. And what do I mean? That it could be a GPS tracker, an AirTag, a Tile, a Samsung tag.
Yeah.
Technology is used to stalk someone. Sometimes it's innocent, but oftentimes it's a divorce, an ex, a cheating
Yeah.
spouse, whatever the
Yeah.
case may be, a wacko. So I started thinking about it, and I'm saying, wow, we need to come up with a way to alert people instantly, and say it's your vehicle or your area that you don't feel comfortable. Is there a tag here possibly following me or tracking? It's usually tied to a vehicle. So I said, let's come up with a low cost device that anybody can use, a consumer. So I said, let's try it a different way. Let's approach it through Kickstarter. We've never done a Kickstarter campaign,
Uh-huh.
and let's see if we could raise some money. What will it cost to develop this? And we came up with this number. I don't know where we got it from, but about $18,000 we needed to raise to quickly develop a solution that could be used to track down any type of tag and give you an instant alert. Well, the Kickstarter process, I have to say, was number one, fabulous. We really enjoyed it. And the most important thing why we did it, it wasn't necessarily for the money, it was the feedback from the community,
Mm-hmm.
giving us tips and things that they wanted to see in a product. So we carefully listened and we weave those into the product to keep it innovative and cutting edge and affordable. And to our surprise, we sold over 100 units. I think more than $38,000 was committed in less than
Mm-hmm.
30 days, and we were blown
Wow.
away. And the product just took off, to the point where it wasn't just a Kickstarter campaign and an idea. This was an innovation that turned into a real live product for us.
Yeah.
And then we found mostly women too. We sold to
Yeah.
many domestic violence shelters and abuse centers where women go to get help. Those centers really had keen interest on using this product to sweep cars to see if there were any hidden trackers, tags, and things like that. And I think since then it just has taken off, and we continue to build them. And there's thousands of units out there for the past couple years, and we continue to innovate there. So really exciting how we kind of use the opposite. We use technology to help, hopefully for the good, in
Mm-hmm.
removing these tags when people are stalked.
Thank you so much, Scott. And let's watch a quick video on this amazing device.
This product is called Blue Sleuth Lite, and it immediately detects and notifies the user of all nearby personal trackers. We've taken years of R&D that we already poured into our expensive solutions
and miniaturize them all into an affordable, palm-sized solution that can attach to any key ring.
And Scott, that was about the product that you were mentioning about. So, how did the idea for your AirTag detector or Blue Sleuth light first come about? Was it a personal experience? I mean, you did mention about the
The supermodel.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
supermodel.
Yeah, I
So,
guess
a gap in the market, or yeah,
that kind of gave me in a sense, the inspiration. When you hear somebody cry out, "Hey, there's no way to solve this problem,"
yeah.
my antennas go up, and that's true with anything. I try to carefully listen to people when they have problems, when it's tied to technology, cybersecurity, wireless. The intersection of that gets me excited, especially when
Mm-hmm.
somebody says it can't be done. There's no solution for it. To me, that's important because as a
Yeah.
small company, and we've been doing this for 54 years, we listen carefully to problems and try to provide an innovative solution. Having that combination is it's very challenging because there's not always a solution to every problem. But by applying kind of multidisciplined approach to it where you have engineers brainstorming, that's what we'll do. We'll sit in our lab and I'll pose
Mm-hmm.
a challenge and they'll say, can't be done. No way. Okay, well, let's think outside the box. What if we try this? What if we try that? And when you start doing that and sharing ideas from different disciplines, sometimes magic happens and these ideas converge. And then you start saying, okay, let's prototype. So a lot of our things that we've developed, these
Mm-hmm.
products, these ideas, some don't even come to fruition. They get pushed aside, and then you find a new novel way to do it. You try again. So trial and error and spending time and money and ideas come together. That's a very powerful combination when you're trying to innovate. You don't want anything to stifle it. And I think a lot of companies don't realize they try to focus too much on, hey, you throw a product together, you put it out there and see if it sticks. I
Yeah.
think talking to people in the industry where you're targeting your industry is so valuable. Hearing what not just their
Yeah,
problem,
what they
but
need.
The
what do they want
feedback.
in a solution and in a product that will help them. That's where the
Mm.
focus is for most of the stuff that at the early stages of innovating, and that allows us to take it to a product form down the road.
And
Thank
as
you so much.
like as we saying in the video, like you can put it in your keychain. So it's
Yeah,
like something
yeah,
very small and it's
yep,
not that
that's
cumbersome. So
it.
you can just put it. Yeah,
Yep, it
that's
comes
great.
down to a little, and that was one of my goals. Early on, everybody said, "Well, if it was only the size of a key fob," I said,
Yeah.
"Okay, let's see if we could make something that's shrink it down." And the first thing
Yeah.
we get from the engineers, "No way it can be done. That's too small."
That's
And
that's the first reaction.
how are we going to power it? And how are we going to do this? And how are we going to charge? Like charging that's a good example. We
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
we thought about it. How do you charge something that's small and lightweight and quick on the go? Yeah, sure, you could plug USB into it, and it does have that. But even more importantly, we said, let's try something new. A couple of the requests that we got through the Kickstarter and other people that we interviewed ahead of time, they said it'd be really nice to do wireless charging. We said, oh, we've never done that with one of our products. Let's give it a try. And sure enough, we integrated wireless charging. So you just drop it on a wireless charger. So you could do it that way or use USB charging. So give them some options and just, again, listening to customers. That to me
Mm.
gets me excited because what happens, those are the early adopters. When they say, oh, I just heard you have wireless charging. That was my idea. I asked you guys to do it. And I said, yep, we were listening.
That's great. That's great.
It's actually nice to know about that, Scott. And it's amazing that there are defenders like you who do not give up and take feedback very seriously. And Sophie, can you
Yeah.
explain to the audience watching today about cyberstalkers and how they track victims? What patterns you see most often?
Yeah, I mean, what we're talking right now is like physical cyber stalking,
Mm-hmm.
because it means that somebody's putting a physical device on this person, on the victims. It can be a pocket, car, any like this model. She said it was on her pocket, so it was like we are talking about physical here and how to prevent this. So in this case, what cyber stalking do when they are doing like physical cyber stalking, they also combine like digital footprints, I can say. They follow the victim For example, they can check their Instagram and see, oh, this person took a picture at this restaurant, or this
Mm-hmm.
person is at this beach specifically. So the cyber stalking starts online. So they track you online, and you have to be very mindful of your digital footprint. And then they proceed to the physical cyber stalking, what we are talking right now. But I've seen both. I've seen online cyber stalking, which is emailing, calling, installing spyware,
Mm-hmm.
like all the online thing. But I also have seen physical cyber stalking. So we do have to consider both as one thing, because one leads to each other. And without like online cyber stalking, it's very difficult to have physical, unless it's somebody from your like around
Neighborhood, yeah.
work. Yes. But it's in what this case, that what inspires Scott is the supermodel case. So probably this stalker was already following her online
Yes.
to track
Mm-hmm.
her down and see where she was going to be next, so he can go and plant this physical device.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you bring up a really good point there, because there's a convergence, I think, with cyber stalking on social media, and it's so important that people realize that, especially
Yeah.
celebrities, high net worth individuals, people that have
Hmm.
a very strong social media presence. They're always building that, and they're sharing a lot of personal information.
Yeah.
They may say, "Hey, I'm going to the
Mm-hmm.
city and I'm going to go crawl at these bars and hope to meet my friends," and they're posting pictures. Well, guess what? A stalker sees that, and then they start thinking, and they see them there, they make the connection, and digital stalking starts, and it converges with physical stalking, and it's a scary problem. I get a call probably several times per month from different people, and usually it's a very similar thing. I see someone, they're always around the corner. It's my ex, it's this one, it's that one, it's
Mm-hmm.
my neighbor, it's whoever it is. And they keep seeing them again and again. And they ask the question, how come they're always there? It can't just be coincidence anymore. I believe they're stalking me. I'm wondering if they're using some type of tag to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the conversation pursues. And usually that's what it ends up happening. They procure one of our units, they have their vehicle, they sweep it, and they find a tag hidden, or sometimes multiple tags. It's
Oh my
scary.
God. Yeah.
Some of these stalkers, well, think about it, an air tag is what, around $20.
Yeah.
A tile, a Samsung, doesn't matter. And again, our tool, we scan for all the tags, which is kind of different. If you're using Apple's ecosystem to find my network, which is incredible, you could see it pinpoint accuracy. If it's your tag that you're trying to track, it's your luggage or whatever else, that's very helpful. However, they're also using that. The cyber criminals are using that same ecosystem, and they all they need is an iPhone, and that's the ultimate tool now for stalking a
Yeah.
victim. And that's what's so scary. There's what, 1.5 billion iPhones in the ecosystem. So pretty much anywhere on the earth, if you're in close enough proximity to an iPhone or a computer or a tablet or whatever, it those devices all talk through that, the air tags, and that's really how they're allowed to actually track people down. So you could be tracking a car, it could be a person on a bus, it doesn't really matter. If you affix an air tag to them, you can know their
Mm-hmm.
whereabouts pretty much anywhere on the earth. That is scary to me.
Yeah.
So good technology, but wrongfully used, it needs some solutions.
Yep, definitely. And it's really scary how it escalates. We're actually going to talk about a few of the real world scenarios that, you know, is really terrifying to look at and how things escalate. And speaking of real world problems, Scott, are there, what are other real world problems you're hoping to solve with your technology?
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, with the development of our Blue Sleuth Light, and then we also have another unit. The next model up is coupled to a direction finding antenna. We had some different agents in law enforcement actually use it at the ports, and what they do is they'll
Hmm.
go around if they feel there's possibility where there's stolen vehicles. They'll actually sniff the containers, if you could imagine, and isolate them to see where there is a chirp for Blue Sleuth low
Uh-huh.
energy. In this case, oftentimes criminals affix a physical tag inside of a stolen vehicle so they could track these stolen vehicles. In this one case earlier this year, it was reported to us by law enforcement. They recovered 9 stolen vehicles all in one container
Wow.
with the use of our tools. And these were high end cars. These are Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Mercedes
Wow.
that are often stolen, snuck into the port, put in containers, and then they're
Mhm.
shipped out of countries and then resold or chopped for parts or whatever the case may be. So that saves millions of dollars using low cost effective tools to detect and isolate them and catch the bad guys, which is really kind of cool that they actually consider using our tools and standardize
Mm-hmm.
them now in different ports throughout the country, which is great.
So
Yeah.
it does not just tackle cyber stalking, it tackles a wide array of problems. And if you
Yeah.
want to learn more about the product, those of who you are watching us live right now on Substack, YouTube, and on LinkedIn, you can just click on the link here, or you can scan the QR code and you will be taken to the page and you'll learn more about the product and check it out.
Yeah,
And
and we do have a comment on LinkedIn that I would
Yeah,
like
please.
to address because
yeah.
this person is saying that Apple has added like that you have an unknown tag on your range. But if you're not in the Apple ecosystem, like let's say I have an Android, there's no way I know anybody, like somebody put an AirTag like in my
Uh-huh.
car or whatever. So this means like this is cross-platform. So no matter which
Yeah.
tag they put on you, you will be able to find out, right?
Yeah, Sophia, that's a really good point. 'Cause there are a lot of AirTags, and there's a lot of people that do use iPhones. I myself do. I love
Mm-hmm.
Apple and their whole ecosystem. But out of respect for the rest of the world, there are a lot of people that also don't use Apple and they prefer a
Mm-hmm.
Samsung, and they might use Samsung's app and their Samsung tag. Tile is one of the early adopters, really, of Bluetooth Low Energy technology for tracking with a tag. And there are millions upon millions of tag devices out there as well. So you have to really look at all the different companies. Those are the three major ones. Apple's certainly the leader, then Tile, then Samsung, but there are probably about 20 plus other tag manufacturers out there now that are really promoting it. Some use the Apple ecosystem and license the actual app, the Find My app, and some people use other apps and things like that. So the good news, at least with our devices, we look at all of them. We don't really discriminate. It's not only for AirTags. That just happens to be the largest market share.
Which is
Yeah.
great because if somebody is not in the Apple ecosystem or Android ecosystem, it doesn't matter what type of tag, it will be able to detect it. So
Yeah.
that's a great thing. So
Yeah.
thank you. And
Yeah.
we do have another question for
Another
you
one,
coming
yeah.
up. Yeah, let's put it up. He said they're enjoying the stream. Thank you so much, Tony. How big of a threat are AirTag trackers in modern cyber stalking cases? That's a great question.
Well, I think it's a huge threat because it just go on to the any search engine, say Google, and
Hmm.
type in AirTag and Stalker, and you will read dozens of articles. It just streams on and on, not just high profile ones with Brooks Nader, but the list goes on and on. And it's often tied into other things as well. And what do I mean by that? We sold a huge number of our Blue Sleuth lights, probably hundreds of them, actually to law enforcement used for tracking drug shipments,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
guns. In other words, any valuable item that bad guys have, they throw an air tag in there to track it. Because what happens? Think about it. If suddenly your package is coming from New Jersey and it's shipping to Alaska, and suddenly something stops, because you could look at it on your iPhone and say, "Oh, my drugs are coming soon,"
Yeah, there's no
and then
shipping tracking
disappears.
number here.
Yeah, well, boom, what happens? So what they can do is they can actually take a box, they could scan it with our tool and say, "Hey, we detect something in there." And what we do
Mhm,
unique, if you and you see it that right there on the screen, we're demodulating and telling you, looking at the header information, hey, this is a Apple AirTag, this is a Tile tracker, this is a Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
If you take your regular, you take your iPhone and you put a Bluetooth app on there and scan, guess what? It doesn't break it down and tell you that
mhm,
detail, the specifics. It's not going to tell you, hey, this is a Tile, this is a Samsung, this is an Apple
mhm,
AirTag. That's one of the benefits of our tool. So now you can click on that, isolate it, and just target that
mhm,
technology or that particular manufacturer of the different types of. And there's a nice picture of some of the different common
mhm.
um, trackers that are out there. These are
Yeah.
Bluetooth Low Energy trackers, and our tool can
Y-
look and find all of them, which is great.
Yeah, and there's one screen where it shows like different types of like device, like AirTags if it's Apple or like
Yeah.
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 Different
And
types of air tags.
another thing that's interesting, a lot of people don't think of, and we discovered this again, working with law enforcement and victims and things. There's other tricks that bad guys do. Here are two of them. One of them, you can take somebody's AirPod. Think about
Mm-hmm.
this. And you could take an AirPod, you pair it to your phone. Now, take that AirPod, if you're a stalker, tuck it into someone's seat. Guess what? You can use an AirPod just like an AirTag. And now you can actually stalk and track somebody with your iPhone. Scary.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think about those things. The other thing that's very popular that these cyber stalkers do is they buy what's called a silent AirTag. And all that simply means is they open it up, they remove the speaker, put it back together. Now it can't beep because there is a nice feature on the AirTag, and many of them all have this, a speaker built in so they can alert if you lose something, your
Yeah.
suitcase, this or that. It could beep,
Yeah.
but it could also alert you if you feel like you're being tracked or stalked. So they make them a silent tag. Now you can't rely on hopefully hearing a beep in your car or somewhere else that it might be stalking you. So again, cyber criminals, they're always thinking ahead. How do they utilize the technology to the most so it can't be found? So again, we're trying to counter that always by developing tools and techniques that will educate consumers and law enforcement to fight back, detect the tag, and remove the tag before something bad could happen.
Yeah, thank you for thinking about all the sides before, going forward with something that makes us feel secure. And about the AirTags, were there any ethical or societal considerations that shaped, how you designed the product?
It's a really good question. That's always a tough one because it's always right on the edge. We are not doing anything that's revealing from the product standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
anything that reveals private or confidential information or content. What we're doing is specifically looking at Bluetooth Low Energy, which is a fast frequency hopper in the 2.4 gigahertz license free band. And we're following all the laws that are put out there through the FCC and the
Mhm.
IEEE per the standard. So
Mm-hmm.
we're doing everything legally, and we're specifically using it for detecting and tracking AirTags, whether they're lawfully used
Yeah.
or
Both.
unlawfully used.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
not crossing any legal bounds. Now, the different concern may come up to your point. Are there ethical and legal issues perhaps that Apple has to deal with, that Samsung does, and that Tile does? Absolutely. And that's a brilliant question because Apple has been sued many times by concerned consumers that were victims of being stalked and
Yeah.
tracked. So to some extent, my hope, and people have told me this, our tool has actually helped Apple in many cases because people can use our tool for lawful purposes to remove unlawful placement of AirTags. So it actually helps their case in a sense because there's solutions out there such as ours that can help remove it quickly. And I think that's what's really important, that people don't throw their hands up and just say, "Oh, it's all Apple's fault." From
Yeah.
my perspective, Apple is not really doing anything wrong. However, could they alert somebody immediately or sooner that there's a tag following them? They could. It's a little bit challenging with the ecosystem. And if you dig into the specs and understand how AirTags actually work,
Hmm.
it is extremely complex. And there is layers of encryption and hopping from device to device. So really, my phone and your phone, if you have a iPhone, is part of the ecosystem. So we're actually communicating, whether we realize it or not, to these tags if
Yeah.
we have our
Uh-huh.
location services on and things like that. So technically, all of us could be part of the solution and we're part of the problem because we're enabling a bad guy to
Hmm.
use a tag to stalk something
Yeah.
through our
Our
devices.
network. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very slippery slope when you dive down to efficacy and legalities on
Yeah.
it. I think I could probably argue both sides of the case. Say
Mm-hmm.
Apple called me in as an expert witness, I could certainly help them,
Yep.
and I could also find some faults and vulnerabilities that they really
Mm-hmm.
need to clean up.
Yeah.
So it is a very difficult question to answer without a couple hour
And and
technical
actually,
discussion.
before this event, you mentioned that you actually work with an organization in Pennsylvania, like for domestic violence,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
giving away these devices for like tracking cyber stalker for women. So on the other side of things, there's this ethical part that is great, because
Yes.
you're helping like victims of domestic violence. So that's a good thing, because I mean, it's
Yeah,
great.
it does help. And, it gives people the assurance that they are not alone and that
Yes.
they will be helped.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about the recent ruling by the federal judge that Apple was likely negligent in the design of the AirTag because it can be misused for stalking. And what does that decision mean to your company, dedicated to detection and anti-tracking technology?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a tough case to argue and win,
Mm. Hmm.
because again, Apple is following the law. They actually put features in there for anti-stalking and tracking, actually ahead of all the other companies that have
Hmm.
developed tags. So in a sense, they were actually more proactive. Unfortunately, I think it bit them in that now that you can get an alert on your phone, somebody,
Hmm.
a suspicious tag may be
Yeah, it's
traveling
close
with
by.
you.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It's absolutely no different with if a tile tag was in there. The difference is you're not going to get an alert on your phone.
Yeah.
So Apple being more proactive is actually giving you an early alert. That unfortunately, now suddenly all these people, we didn't realize, in other words, how many people are actually being stalked and tracked. I think that's
Yeah.
part of the problem.
Yep.
Now they brought awareness to it, and now suddenly everybody's in a panic. Now, selfishly, and I hate to say it from this standpoint, it helps our company. I mean, that wasn't our goal to capitalize on people per se.
Yeah.
Yes, we do sell to that market for those that are being stalked and tracked,
Hmm.
Well,
admittedly.
but you're offering them a solution,
But
so
we're providing hopefully a solution to a problem that is very complex. And it's so complex, ironically, Apple can't solve it. They've been selling tags for years. And if you look at the market for tags, just what Apple has sold, estimates are several 100 million tags. That
Wow.
blew my mind. So, yes, Apple is making a lot of money. If you think, even though it's a $20 tag, these are mass produced
yeah.
and they're supported by their ecosystem. In other words, when you buy an iPhone, you probably are going to buy an AirTag or AirTags and tablets and computers, and the
Yeah, so
list
the
goes on
entire
and on.
combo.
So you buy into that ecosystem. So it really feeds Apple. Why are they one of the wealthiest companies in the world? Because they know how to
Hmm.
develop a secure product line that people buy into the ecosystem. So I commend them for that. My only pause is, could they do more for early tracking and alerting people? They
Mm.
could. There's a lot of things as you delve into the standards, the technology, and the parts that are published that we are privy to. And we are not a registered Apple developer, so we don't have any specific connection with Apple. If we
Yeah.
did, I'd have an easy button you'd press on here that when you detect a tag and hunt it down, that it would
We'll
chirp a certain
turn
pattern or other
it
things.
off. Yeah.
We can't do that. So we're actually completely independent of Apple and all the other vendors out there, and we're strictly using our tool to just detect and locate tags as fast as you can. That's the bottom line, to help people that are problematic. I mean, you could also use it. I personally, I'll sometimes pull this out when I'm traveling in the airport, just like I would pull out my iPhone to track my
Yeah.
luggage, which I have a tag on and things
Hmm.
like that. So, yeah, there's other uses that it has as well. Some, minimal usefulness, but I think where the value is are some of the other areas: recovering stolen merchandise like cars and vehicle theft,
Mm.
certainly helping with domestic violence and abuse, mostly again toward women, where they feel threatened and stalked. Very useful there. Drug shipments and guns and all these other bad stuff that people shouldn't be shipping, that they're using a
Yeah.
tracker with. There's even some other extreme cases, and I can't really go into detail, that we've been privy to with some of our customers that have real world national security implications, that
Wow.
people are actually using, bad people are using tags. So if your mind can go to those places, you
Yeah.
start to see the value of simple technology, how it can quickly detect and locate and remove that threat.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just like you mentioned that there are some high profile cases and that there are ordinary people as well who are affected. So we're going to take a look at how the technology works and why it was built. And I want to ground, like we've talked about that, how it
Mhm.
works and why it was built. And let's just look at some real world scenarios with like ordinary people that has happened. For example, going on Reddit, a parent reported that their daughter received an unexpected AirTag tracking alert on her phone. Okay, but this is very sensitive because it's a daughter. Even though the family does not own any Apple devices or AirTags, the alert disappeared before they could investigate it, and they would like to know how to retrieve the alert, play the sound, confirm whether someone may be tracking her. They just want a confirmation on that. They just want that feeling of safety. So, Scott, in a situation like this where a parent sees an AirTag alert pop up and then disappear, what could cause that, and what are there any reliable ways to go back and check if the AirTag is still nearby?
Oh, sure. And that is a challenge, and that really sums up nicely the challenge Apple has.
Yeah.
Think about it. Maybe the daughter has a backpack and somebody slipped an AirTag in, trying to
Hmm.
stalk or track her, or abduct her. Scary. So she obviously has an iPhone, because if she got the alert, it has to be an iPhone or a
Yeah.
tablet
Yep.
or a computer. So she probably has an iPhone, got the alert. So that means it was traveling with her for a period of unknown time. That's when the alert comes up. It could be an hour, 2 hours, 10 hours later, she
Yeah.
gets the alert. So she has to think back over the past 24-hour
Where she's
period.
been.
And yeah, where have I been? Who have I been with? Did I have a backpack? Was I in someone's car? So on and so forth. And I think it's really important. Number one, for a child, tell your parents immediately. Communicate to your parents. Number two,
Yeah.
the parents should reach out to law enforcement. Get
Yes.
professional help. We deal with law enforcement all the time. They call us and say, hey, we have a victim. They feel like they've been stalked. We see you guys have some tools. We want to learn more about
Hmm.
it. And we try to share tips and educate
Hmm.
law enforcement to help families, especially with young kids when there's
Hmm.
problems like that, or victims of violence, domestic or stalking, whatever the case may be. So
Yeah.
getting help, I think that's the number one thing. Educate yourself and get help to explain what actually happened. That's a very different story. It's very difficult. Now, if you call Apple, or even law enforcement calls Apple, guess what? They're not going to get much help, if any,
No.
unless it's a high profile victim. If
Yeah.
it's terrorist, they
Kidnapping
probably
or
will.
the,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Kidnapping, human trafficking, something like that, they
Yeah, yeah.
will
It's got to
take
be
care.
pretty high
But if it's,
profile.
yeah, but if it's just like your daughter when a one pop up, like,
Yeah, yeah. And,
but
and
with this device, you
yes,
can actually
yeah.
make sure that she doesn't have anything on.
Yep, and we do sell our device to, unfortunately, scared parents and scared
Yeah.
people that are feeling like, hey, I'm being stalked and tracked.
Hmm.
That's again, it's a real world problem, and that's a real world solution there. I think the other thing to keep in mind, there have been cases where there's been what I call false detection,
Hmm.
where
Uh-huh.
somebody gets an alert through the ecosystem and there's a
Mm.
mistake. Basically, they don't have a tag, or somebody stalking them or
Yeah.
tracking them. There was an
Maybe
error, and those
somebody
things are going to
nearby.
happen. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and it just
people,
creates paranoia.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's important. Don't be overly paranoid. And at the same time, realize really bad guys will use multiple methods. And what do I mean by that? A lot of the stalking cases and things that I've dealt with and working with, even professionals, because there are many professionals, and we often recommend them, that will actually go in and sweep a vehicle. This could be
Hmm.
a private investigator, this could be a TSCM, technical surveillance
Yeah.
countermeasure expert. They will sweep the vehicle for any bugs, cameras, tags, GPS trackers, whatever the case may be, to make sure it's cleared. It's not cheap. It usually starts out around $700 to
Yeah.
professionally have a vehicle swept. Involves a combination of electronic sniffing. It
Yeah.
could be using a tool like this or some of our other tools. And then there's a physical search too, often that makes the price even more. What do I mean by that? They put it up on a lift, they pull down the muffler, the fenders, pull
Hmm.
the seats out. They're ripping your car apart. It may take a few hours to
Yeah.
properly
To
sweep a
actually find
vehicle.
it. Yeah.
Um, it happens often. What we've actually been surprised, we've actually sold numerous units of the Blue Sleuth Light to companies that provide executive protection to high net worth individuals, celebrities, politicians, you name it. And what they've done is they actually equip them. So there are actually some famous people that are walking around with Bluetooth lights.
Nice.
When they jump into their vehicle, if they see a strange alert and they see, oh, AirTag, and they see a really strong signal strength pop up, they pick the phone up and they call those that provide, security and say, hey, I just got in my vehicle. I'm a little nervous. I've
Yeah.
got a threat level of so-and-so. They'll come in, hop out of the vehicle, sweep the vehicle or clear the room, so on and so forth. So we hear some interesting stories of how different high net worth individuals and
Yeah.
celebrities and so on and so forth
So this is
deal
not
with
only
this.
for like end consumers, it's also for like companies that they provide
Yeah.
security, physical security,
Yes. Yep.
to have in
The law
their like,
enforcement, yeah.
yeah.
Like a
it-
wide array, like, and it's an umbrella device. And
Yes.
we actually have a few questions coming
Yeah,
in
sure.
about your
Fire away.
device. It's about, does the device have any ability to detect if jamming is occurring?
No, we do not detect if jamming has occurred. We do,
have a
ironically,
jammer, yeah,
have
needed.
other devices. We have a new product that we just released. It's called a Wolfhound Ultra, which actually has jammer detection built in. And yesterday we were meeting in the labs, um, working on refining an algorithm to detect jammers. And in that particular case, we're looking at 5 gigahertz, 2.4, all the cell bands. We're looking at Bluetooth low energy, as well as GPS and satellite for jamming in any
Mhm.
of those bands. So it's a more comprehensive, advanced solution, um, with specific to the question here, which is a good question. Jamming would be specific to the 2.4 gigahertz. Um, and unfortunately, you can go on the internet and buy a 2.4 gigahertz jammer for under $50. There's not a whole lot that you can do to prevent somebody from jamming. It's easy to
Mhm.
detect a 2.4 gigahertz jammer. I will point out for those that are listening, it is illegal to own and have possession and operate any type of jammer. It's an
Uh-huh.
$11,000 fine. I would not recommend driving past any airport or
With one
anything
of the
like that, because they do have detection technologies to determine jammers, because that can actually start to affect airline, trucking,
yeah,
vehicles, a lot of telemetry equipment. So I would not recommend anyone buying a jammer or using it, because
Mhm.
it's again, it's illegal. They will find you, they
yeah,
will catch you, and they will
yeah,
find you, and possible imprisonment. So our tools are often used lawfully by law
yeah, for
enforcement
law
to
enforcement. Yeah.
hunt down illegal use of jammers. Internationally, there are many countries that jammers are illegal, but they're usually tied closely to prisons where contraband cell phones are smuggled in and they want to suppress
Yeah.
any illegal activity of
Mm.
mobile phones. And that's where jammers might be legally used. Or in the case of certain people, such as the President of the United States or others, when they're traveling in a caravan, they will have jammers light up to prevent any type of communication that potentially could be used to target or cause harm to the president or
Mhm.
anyone right under him, too. So there are exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, please avoid jammers. Don't buy them. We have about 20 different jammers here that we lawfully obtained for laboratory testing and development of equipment, but we do
Yeah.
not use them out in the wild. We keep them in a controlled environment so they never can interfere. And on top of it, there is a public safety issue with 911 emergency. Imagine a jammer and you go to make a
Yeah.
phone call, and
Yep.
it could
It's
be
not working.
jamming the cellular band, or if you connect with a Wi-Fi hotspot, your phone call would be pushed through that, and a jammer for 2.4 could actually block communication and potentially affect people's lives.
Yeah, so that's actually very dangerous. And Scott, if someone leaves us talk with like one key idea, what would that be?
Um, I always look at technology is very valuable. It makes our lives wonderful. I love wireless. I love innovative
Mhm.
tools. I love mobile phones and all these things to make our life better and easier. However, when you analyze tags, for example, they can be misused, and they have been misused, and they'll continue to be misused, and we'll
Mhm.
continue to do our best to fight the fight against these cyber criminals, certainly with your help and educating people to stay safe.
Thank you so much, Scott, and thank you for joining us. And we had a really good session with so many people appreciating your device. We have so many questions, and I hope we were able to answer them about the device. And your insights on AirTag misuse, cyber stalking risk, and detection technology were incredibly helpful.
Great. Well, thank you guys
Yes.
so much for your time. And again, all
Yes.
you do, and stay safe, everybody out there.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
Scott.
much.
Thank you.
See you later. Have a good day.
You
Bye.
too. Thank you.
All right, now before we go to the next segment about the headline recap, let's watch a quick video of cyber briefing.
Stay ahead of the cyber curve with real-time alerts, incident reports, and the latest cybersecurity news, all in one streamlined, easy-to-read newsletter. Join more than 20,000 subscribers who rely on cyber briefing, available on LinkedIn, Medium, and now on Substack. Don't wait to protect your digital world. Subscribe today and stay informed with Cyber Briefing by Cyber Material.
That was Cyber Briefing by Cyber Material. If you do not already know it, it is our daily newsletter that goes out every weekday, and in it we update you with everything cybersecurity from all around the world. So if you are not subscribed, you're missing out. And you should subscribe to us. Just hit the follow button on Cyber Material and go to the newsletter and subscribe it. So Sophie, hi. Let's
Yes.
talk about the record attack that happened that was linked to a massive botnet, the denial of
Mhm.
service attack. So what happened there?
So this is a great like headline that I wanted to talk about, because here's how the incident happened about today's DDoS distributed attack. This was an I0 botnet that it was
Hmm.
behind a record-setting DDoS attack that
Hmm.
peaked at 29.7 terabits per second. So this is according to Cloudflare. So it's like a very big DDoS attack.
Hmm.
So the most single one that it was sustained
Hmm.
lasted like 69 seconds. So by the volume and intensity, was like a carpet bombing to take down
Mhm.
a lot of ports and a lot of connections around the world. So we were talking about jamming. Well, we are talking about DDoS right now. So
Yeah.
it sort of works in the same idea. So it's like trying to get the devices disconnected. And it is believed that this botnet draw power from like a global network of 1 to 4 million infected devices. And these devices could have included routers, IoT devices,
Wow.
DVRs, like anything that connects to the Internet of Things. Could have been like one of the devices used to perform this DDoS. Now, what is like very alarming, this 2025, we have seen a peak in DDoS attacks. So
Wow.
this is not the only one that happened this morning. These are things that are happening, already happened like 4, 5, 6 times, and they're increasing in the terabit attack and the sustained pinged attack that is happening. So this one was of 69 seconds. We had one a couple of weeks ago around like 50 seconds. So it looks like they are increasing the sustained attack.
Mm-hmm.
So for companies being like 69 seconds offline could mean a lot of like business loss, or if
Mm-hmm.
they are attacking emergency services, 69 seconds could mean like somebody's gonna lose their life.
Definitely.
So this is like very concerning, and there's a lot of things like happening right now that we need to be like very, very aware. And well, companies like Cloudflare, they're like taking care of DDoS attacks. So at
Yeah,
least
they were
there's
able to
yeah,
mitigate, right, this
yes.
attack, and it was
Hmm.
huge, as far
Yes.
as I hear from you. And about the incident that happened about Yearn Finance that was hit by a 9 million token exploit. What about that?
Well, this one is fun. It's I'm not gonna say fun, but it's like this is like how the threat actors are stealing money. So this happened on November 30th,
Uh-huh.
but we are just finding out how much money they were able to pull out from
Yeah.
this from Year Finance, and they were like they attacked their YETH product, which is their token,
Uh-huh.
and they found a bug in a custom contract, was like allow the attacker to actually uh, like mint a near infinite number of fake, like YETH token, which is
Yeah.
the name of their token. So they were able to manipulate and resell fake tokens. So they issue tokens, but they were like fake tokens because there was a bug on their
Mm-hmm.
smart contract blockchain, and they issue around 8 million to $9 million of these, like I can say, fake token. But they made it look like they were selling the original YETH
Wow.
token. So they move around like 1,000 Ethereum, which is worth around $3 million, into a crypto mixer. It's called Tornado Cash, and they were able to obfuscate up to $3 million. The rest, it was sort of like unaffected. So actually, the final loss was around $3 million.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually a huge
Just
hit.
because of a bug on the smart contract, right?
Yeah, people should really be careful, and hopefully that we will cover this in our cybercrime stories. And hopefully we have some good updates about this, and we can make a full story about the how, what, why, and when. So if you are interested in stories like this, make sure that you subscribe to the Cybercrime Stories by 911 Cyber, and we do cover major hits like this and talk about it and let you know about the who done it and whatnot.
Yeah.
So to the last one, the news about the Lazarus APT remote.
Yes.
So what happened there?
Yeah, and this, like, we always talk about, like, we want to finish on a high note.
Yeah.
Remember, we've been talking about the famous click fix and how the
Yes.
North Korean threat actors, they were targeting workers, like people looking for jobs. Remember?
Yep.
Yeah. So it looks like there's a researcher. He's from Uruguay. He was able to track down the Lazarus APT remote worker scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to track them down, and he was able to take screenshots of their faces, and they caught them live, their remote worker scheme. So
Wow.
how, for those that don't follow much our shows, we talk about the fake job offers. So how it works is like, by like, they offer you like a professional like job offer, and it could be either on LinkedIn or another recruitment like website, like Indeed or anything, that are looking
Yeah.
for remote developers. So this person is going to reach out to you as a recruiter and say, you know what, I think you need to work with us. And the person is being asked like for the ID, social security number, banking details, whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the requirements for this is to get access to a 24/7 access work laptop. So what does it mean is, like, they will be able to have like unlimited access to a US IP address, and they
Yeah.
will be able to perform whatever they want with your laptop. So what this person did is he sort of uh, make it look like he was someone looking for a job.
Hmm.
So he sort of like gave away his information, so they onboarded him. But the bad guys, they didn't know he was aware of the scam. So he was sort of tracking them down. So he pulled up
Mm-hmm.
a reverse card and he was like, you know what? You are the ones being hacked right now. So he was able
Wow.
to infiltrate them and get a lot of information about how this scam works. And I'm happy he was able to do that, because now we have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of data to analyze and understand how this remote worker scheme actually works.
Wow. Thank you, Sophie, so much for breaking down the headlines with me. And before we go, a quick reminder that the Echo Party call for papers for the Miami edition is now open. The original work is encouraged for submissions and are open until March 2026. You can scan the QR code on the bottom of the screen for more information and know all about it. Thank you, Sophie, so much for joining me today. And thank you,
Mhm.
everyone who joined us. And we look forward to seeing you for our next event with Shade Al. She's actually one of the top 100 women. Uh,
Mhm.
and we are going to have
Cyber
an event
voices.
with her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
it's going to be an amazing event. We look forward to having you. Show up next Thursday with your questions, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next Ask Me Anything Cyber, a fun, interactive weekly event for everything cybersecurity. Join us every week at noon Eastern Time for another high-energy recap of the week's biggest cyber stories. From data breaches and threat intel to major legal updates. Whether it's a high-profile hack, a new APT on the rise, or a must-attend summit, we've got it covered. But that's not all. We'll also break down the latest job market trends, share our thoughts on cyber stocks, and give you actionable insights to stay ahead. And of course, we wrap things up with what makes this show special, live Q&A with you. Have a question about a breach? Want to know how a threat works? Curious about getting started in cyber? Let us know and we'll answer it live. See you next week.